Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the RotoWire hashtag Euro 2024 show. Ryan, the Euros are finally here. I haven't even introduced myself, but I'm Jack Burkart. You can find me on Twitter at Jack Burkart, joined as usual by Ryan Belongia. Ryan, the Euros are finally here, and this has to be a very special day for you because you started your touting journey probably 3 years ago for the COVID delayed Euro 2021. I learned how to play DFS from you and Laird in those podcasts, and so it's kind of fun to be in these seats. How does it feel looking back at the last 3 years, Ryan?
Yeah, man, it feels great. Yeah, that was first started doing pods with Laird for the last Euros. I guess that was 3 years ago. Great memories. These international tournaments, yeah, they're always so fun, and they always come at a time where not much else is going on. We got some big contests for this opening slate, which is great to see. It's about as good of a 3-game slate as you could ask for, too. It's tough for a lot of reasons, and then also it's staggered, starting time staggered, which makes it even tougher, especially because the Spain and Italy lineups are kind of up in the air, some spots at least. So it's a really good slate. Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited too, Ryan. I'm excited for some big contests. I hope we can support them. If you're listening, register more than usual. We have to do our part to. We can't complain about the contests and then not register. So
You
put
got
yourself
me
on a
thinking
list.
about those Euros 3 years ago when I first started doing the podcast with Laird. I remember losing like 12 days in a row or something to start the tournament, 11 or 12 days. I just started the pod, obviously feeling pretty bad. My bankroll way, way down at that point, especially because I had stepped up for the Euros. So it could have gone much differently than I hit a showdown for a big score and then went from there. But if we didn't hit that, I don't know. I might not be sitting here with you today, Jack.
Maybe not. Nico Barea season. In Euro, it's the first time I won a GPP. It was the Daily Dollar. Shout out to me. And I won it because Adam Zadroy came into the Discord. Ukraine wasn't posting lineups on Twitter, and some Ukrainian journalists were saying that, oh God, why can't I think of his name? Left back, Arsenal. Alexander Zinchenko was going to play in a more forward role. So I late saw up, jammed him in, and he absolutely crushed. So that felt good. So a lot of good memories. I would probably be here still if I didn't win that Daily Dollar. That was not too much of a bankroll buster. But Ryan, let's dig into this slate because I think there's a ton to talk about. I'm excited from it from a strategic point of view. There's a lot of decisions we have to make. Pricing, pretty efficient, pretty tough. Staggered starts. We're going to be working 9 to 5 for these first 2 weeks. I think it's a tough slate, and I think there's a lot to discuss. And the first thing, Ryan, I want to talk about is just maybe go through each matchup one by one. But for a quick overview, our first matchup is going to be between Switzerland and Hungary, and Switzerland are slight favorites, not quite even money line favorites, but 45% implied win probability. They're playing against Hungary, who have some pretty exciting players, but Switzerland have some exciting players in Xherdan Shaqiri, maybe Ruben Vargas, although you don't necessarily agree. I shouldn't call Ruben Vargas exciting, anyways. And then in the next game, the noon game, we have Spain playing Croatia. Spain, more of a possession based team. Maybe that's not quite the same under their new manager. Maybe there's a little bit more crossing, a little bit more attacking, less horizontal passing. But they play a tough Croatia team, and Spain are not much more favored than Switzerland are against Hungary. So that's going to be an interesting game, maybe a little bit slow and turgid. And then we have Italy in the biggest mismatch of the day playing against Albania. Albania are a team that are going to be happy to play in the counter, often had less than 50% possession in the qualifiers, and Italy are a good team. So I expect that to be kind of the primary place where we attack. But Ryan, maybe we can dig into this Hungary Switzerland game first. How do you think it's going to go? Because in some extent, I expect Italy to dominate Albania. I'm expecting Spain Croatia to be a little bit boring with a slight edge for Spain. But Hungary and Switzerland, this feels wide open to me. If I had one game where I could get right for GPPs, I want it to be this game. So what are you thinking for this Hungary Switzerland game to open things?
Yeah, I think that was a great breakdown. That's how I'm thinking about it too. I don't know. I wish I knew how the Hungary Switzerland game was going to go. I'll try to guess though. Just from an overview of the whole slate, all these games have low totals, all under 2.5, which is, a little bit different from what we've been used to in Premier League, especially different from what we're used to in Champions League. So we want to look for floor points. Like you said, might not be that many in Spain, Croatia game. And then obviously there'll be some there for Italy, but that they're more expensive there. The lineup's tough to predict. So you really got to get this Hungary Swiss game correct. And you're going to probably want floor points on this slate if there's not going to be a lot of goals. As far as how the game's going to go, I've seen Switzerland play really well at times, and I've seen them play bad at times. They're a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde side recently. Some play down to their competition, play up to their competition. I agree with the odds in this spot. I think they should be favored. I think their midfield is better. I think Xhaka and Freuler should control the game. Those players have experience in the biggest matches and really good, actually. I think it's a really good game for Xhaka to control it for the most part. And I don't think Hungary's midfield is that good. They have, the better attacking players with Soboslai and Salai. So I don't know. I'm not that confident in Switzerland either, though. Like, they're not a great side. You look at their other players, Shaqiri, their attackers, Vargas, Shaqiri, Amdouni. It wouldn't shock me if Switzerland really struggled to score. We've seen that before from them. So I think either of these teams could win 2-0. Like you said, it's not going to shock me, but I kind of agree with the odds. And if I had to, I don't think Hungary, I know the public is excited about Hungary a little bit because you see their players, and I don't know. I kind of prefer the Swiss side.
Yeah, Hungary are definitely the more fun team to me, but I agree that Switzerland has a stronger midfield, and I think that's going to be somewhat important. One thing that stuck out to me during research is that Hungary had a pretty easy group to qualify out of. A lot of teams they could bully, like, Moldova and Liechtenstein. I don't think Liechtenstein, but teams of this caliber. The best team in their group that they played with was Serbia, and if you look at fantasy scores for Hungary against Serbia, it was not very good. And I think Switzerland is probably a little bit better than Serbia. The Serbian team is pretty good. So that gives me a little bit of pause before, just wanting to play, the Roland Salai, the Dominic Soboslai, the really fun players. So it could go south for Hungary. But at the same time, I'm not too inspired by the Switzerland team. Ruben Vargas could be subbed off at 65 minutes. Shaqiri plays for the Chicago Fire, might be a bit washed. His role is really good, but it's tough to rely on him for fantasy. I mean, Zeki Mduni, these names don't really get me excited. So
Right.
it really could. I'm not going to have a fixed opinion on this match because it could go any way. I'm going to try to have an opinion on other matches and then maybe play different game scripts for this Hungary Switzerland game.
Yeah, and part of what makes it so tough is that there's not a lot of great options in the other games. We're going to want Italy's set piece taker for sure. It's going to be DeMarco, and then we're not sure. It would be Pellegrini if it's that lineup we have up there. But what I mean is, like, Soboslai is still not that expensive. So even if it's not the greatest spot, like when you told, for some reason, I thought he was 9,600 when we were talking this morning, and you told me he was 8,600, and it just sort of changed the whole way I was looking at the slate. If floor points are going to be important, he just does everything for Hungary. It's not the greatest matchup, but it's not the worst either.
Yeah.
So Ryan, almost by process of elimination, you're going to want, I don't know if you can fit all these, you're probably going to want Soboslai, I think, at least for cash games. But then, so just to finish on Switzerland, they're not very exciting from an attacking point, but if you look at the spine of the team, it's pretty damn good with Xhaka, Freuler, Akanji, and Schär. It's got 1-0 written all over it if they play well.
Yeah, I agree. And Ryan, just to echo that about Soboslai, I'm kind of cautious, but I tried to make projections for Euros, and they're not going to be reliable, but they are very bearish on Hungary, and Soboslai still projects pretty well as far as the game environment for Hungary not being very good for fantasy points. So to echo that, I don't know, we're doing a lot of wishy-washy stuff, but when you're looking at Szoboszlai, sometimes you can keep it simple. The role is absolutely elite, virtual set piece monopolist, and he'll take penalties. So maybe dig into the 2v2s when we go position by position, Ryan. I want to move over to the Spain-Croatia game. These are two teams that faced off in June 2023 in the UEFA Nations League final. Spain fielded a slightly weaker side. Croatia took the tournament a little bit more seriously. I don't want to draw too many conclusions, but possession was split 54-46 in that game in favor of Spain, which is, you would expect, Spain teams of old to be having 70% possession against just about any opponent. And Ryan, what I want to say here is that Croatia are a tough nut to crack. They're a good team. They are underdogs, but I don't really see this as a smash spot for Spain. There are going to be some good options. If it's the projected lineup that we have on the site, we're going to see Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal take set pieces. We might see Danny Olmo start instead of Pedri. Olmo hasn't taken set pieces when Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal have been in, but it's something worth considering that Olmo can do that. There's also this whole headache about Alex Grimaldo in there. He's not the same player for Leverkusen, but you still kind of feel bad when you don't play him. It's just a year of him absolutely crushing in DFS. Tough to be interested in Croatia. I mean, Joško Vardiol is not going to be the marauding left back he is for Croatia that he is for City. Luka Modric will probably split set pieces if Lovro Mayer is starting. I mean, Kramaric is an interesting player and he's not too expensive. It's just not a spot that I necessarily want to target. Ryan, what's your take on the Spain-Croatia game that kicks off at noon?
Yeah, I think Croatian players, strictly GPP options, not going to really target them for cash games on this slate. Not really sure if there's going to be a lot of floor points in this slate. You mentioned the last time they played a year ago, there really wasn't. Also, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure what the Spain lineup's going to be. Like you said, they have Olmo there. They have Ferran Torres there. Morata's going to start, but I'm not sure which set piece takers are going to start. I also think whoever does start, pretty big sub risk. So I'm not terribly excited about the Spain players either. I think it's a good price on Morata. Supposedly with this new manager, they're open to crossing a little more. And they will cross with Morata in there. So yeah, I think Spain's, it's an interesting game for tournaments, but it's one I'd be fine fading too in any format.
Yeah, and that might be the popular thing to do. I don't know. It's tough to predict ownerships on day one of an international tournament, but I think what Spain has going for them, Ryan, is that the pricing is good. Like Nico Williams, I think is only 7,500. Yamal is 7,800. Morata, I think, is underpriced at 7K. I wrote in the article that should be on the site. I don't really want to play Morata in cash, but when there's not going to be a lot of games with floor points and a goal can make a big difference in a 3-game slate, 7K is a pretty appetizing price. Yeah, I don't know. It's just gonna be a tricky game, and I do agree. Croatia is gonna be GPP only, I think. And then the final game we have Italy, Albania. Ryan, I have no idea what Italy are gonna do with this lineup. It seems like lineup prognosticators have sort of coalesced on this 3-4-3 type of setup. I have seen, instead of Lorenzo Pellegrini, I've seen David Frattesi being projected to start. I'm not sure what to make of that. It's going to make a mess of the set piece situation, and it is the last match overall. At the same time, we should feel good that Fede DeMarco is probably going to start. He will play a role. He's going to be an important defender to have. Albania, it's going to be tough to get excited about them, Ryan, but they do have some set piece takers. So Jasir Asani is a cheap forward. He's available if you maybe want to go there and maybe fancy that he can get a 6-point floor. Tough to rely on. And then Bayrami, he plays as a central midfielder. He splits set pieces with Asani. I think just one thing to keep in mind is, I know Christian Eslani is cheap, and he normally takes set pieces for club when he plays for Inter and he plays over Çalhanoğlu, but it doesn't appear that he has that role for country. So just keep that in mind, that Eslani, he's not going to be some set piece taker. But I don't know, Ryan, what do you think is possible with this Italy lineup, and what decisions do you think we're going to have to make as it comes out?
Yeah, it makes it tough that it's the last game. I mean, do you want to rely on Pellegrini starting and then he doesn't start? I mean, so pay attention to that, because there's a lot of opportunity costs there, but
He
you
takes
would
up a
want,
midfield spot, Ryan. You can't play him in a
yeah,
forward spot. And if you're not playing, if you're playing Pellegrini, you're saving the spot, and he doesn't start. That means you could not have played. You would have a tough time playing Soboslai. You'd have a tough time playing Shaqiri. I mean, these guys are good plays, so it's definitely concerning.
yeah, it would probably make me not do that in cash games. But if you're sure he's going to start, I mean, you would want the guy splitting sets, maybe even taking a majority of sets in the best matchup. Italy have the highest total. They should control this game against Albania. The pricing's tough though. You got Skamaka at 9,100. Just a tournament play at that price, and then Chiesa 8,900. Again, expensive on this slate. I think you can consider him in cash games, though. I mean, cheapest Italy forward. He has a floor, without any set pieces, and I guess an outside path to sets. If you didn't see Pellegrini in there, it's possible. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. Like on the Albania side, I guess you could use one of those guys. I'm not too excited about it. I mean, yeah, Barami's cheap. I guess, he could be in we're not really sure if Barella is going to start. They're the same price. So you could always swap to Barella if Barella starts. That seems easy enough. But I wouldn't necessarily prioritize either of them either. It's tough. A lot of uncertainty on all of these games.
It is, and we haven't really even gotten into the salary dynamics and the position dynamics overall, which we can start doing now. You look at the forward position, Ryan, and I don't think the forward position is really strong. I mean, it's stronger than defender, where there's one clear-cut play and Fede DeMarco, but there's a lot of uncertainty. It feels cozy to start if we use these projected lineups with Chiesa and then maybe playing someone like Nico Williams. But who's in the cash pool for you for forward overall? Like, we can't use Shaqiri in a forward spot. We can't use Soboslai. You could spend down for maybe an Ndoye or an Asani, or you could go all the way down. And then we have Armando Broja at 4,100, which is the goofy meme, I'll effing do it again, which normally in at least better matchups when he's that cheap. I think forward is pretty tricky, Ryan. In cash games, I do think I'll probably play a Spain winger and just slot in a spot for Chiesa. It feels like the safest thing to do. What's your impression of the forward position?
Yeah, that was my impression too. I'm comfortable with Chiesa for sure. I mean, he's expensive, but the position's not great. It's a good spot for him too. So yeah, I like that. And then I was thinking a Spain guy. I wouldn't have any problem playing Morata. You could play one of the wingers for sure. Probably a little bit better, obviously, because they have a better floor if you can get there. So yeah, I was thinking the same thing. If you want to punt, someone from Switzerland seems okay. Probably this Ndoye playing wing back. So really, that was the whole pool: Chiesa, Spain, and Ndoye.
Yeah, I guess it is sort of tricky, what to make of
I
Alvaro
guess
Morata. Go
this.
ahead.
Yeah, no, I guess this Asani is the same price as Ndoye. Can't be too much worse. He split sets. I know it's tough to be bullish on Albania, but
Yeah, all two set pieces that Albania are going to have. I do only mention Asani just because he has that role, and I was surprised to see that the machine kind of thought highly of him at price at 5,600, just to enable playing strong midfielders. It's interesting to think about paying down, but I also think it's kind of suicidal. I think in the absence of a lot of information, Ryan, I just want, forwards with set pieces or forwards in the best spot. And this should be a really good spot for Italy. But one thing that's worth pointing out in the dynamics of Group B, which features Spain, Croatia, Italy, and Albania. Yeah, Ryan, I'm trying really hard not to say Albany, New York values over here, but it is Albania. This is a really tough group, Ryan, and this might reflect in the opening matchups. If you lose the first match, that is very bad news. So do you see maybe any systemic risk on the Italy side here? Like maybe it's a cagey game and Chiesa doesn't really have much of a floor. I think that's a little bit too galaxy brains, but That's really the only route I see to Italy failing.
I don't think it's too galaxy brained, actually. This Italy team aren't world beaters at all. I mean, they should be comfortable, but actually, no, it wouldn't surprise me if this game is 0-0 and all of Italy's attackers are subbed with less than 10 floor points. No, it wouldn't surprise me, actually. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen, but no, it could for sure.
I'm just, it could happen that, Albania play with nothing to lose and Italy play with everything to lose. And then it's not difficult to imagine a player like Asani or Bayrami have a chance to get a 6 to 7 point floor. And especially for Bayrami at 4,500, if you told me I could get 7 points from a $4,500 player on this slate with no punts, I mean, sign me up. So I'm just trying to find routes to maybe play one of those cheaper players. I don't know. It's worth bringing up. In tournaments, Ryan. Oh, go ahead.
Can we can see the stats from the last tournament, right? Like from World Cup. Can you just pull up Morata's? I can't even find it because I'm
So in the World Cup for Morata, let's just pull up the per 90 basis.
Do we have a game log?
I'm not sure we'll be able to find game logs right now. I'd have to download a sheet, but on a per 90 basis, Morata, well, he wasn't starting, so he kind of got to go in late, which is usually more fertile fantasy ground. But 4 shots per 90, chance created. I mean, if you told me Morata was going to have 4 shots.
He only started that one game. Okay. Yeah. Might have been the last Euros that I was remembering then. I'll always remember a specific slate. I thought it was the last World Cup, but maybe it wasn't. It might have been the Euros 3 years ago when we went on and on about Morata not having a floor, and he might have had 12 floor points that game where we were saying that 10. I mean, just by far the most on Spain. So I'll always remember that happening.
I disagree with Morata not having a floor, especially in this spot. So in qualifying, he averaged, what do I have down here? He averaged about 7-point floor per 90 minutes played, and he usually played 80 minutes. I mean, I think the path to Morata succeeding is you get $500 extra. That could be the difference between going from Shaqiri to Szoboszlai if you're so inclined. You have a player who is likely to get a goal. He's the Slate's tied most likely goal scorer. Maybe he's on penalties, Ryan. Ferran Torres probably takes them if he starts. And then there's this whole mess where Rodri took 2 in a friendly against Brazil, but maybe he did because, they let him take penalties because he was emotional about his grandfather passing away. I don't know. There's someone in the Discord trying to break down the situation, and it's somewhat uncertain. I really don't hate it, especially if there's not a lot of floor points in the Spain-Croatia game, and Yamal and Nico Williams both get subbed off a little bit early. Why not take the guy with the best goal odds in the group? I don't know. Goals are going to be pretty important in a 3-game slate. I think I'm just agreeing with you, Ryan.
Yeah, I think we agree.
Well, maybe we can move on to I guess I want to know what your take was on tournaments, because some names that we didn't really talk about in tournaments. I think Zeki Mduni is going to be an interesting tournament play, although he's cheap, but he's a cheap goal source, but he's not going to play 90 minutes, probably gets subbed off at 65 minutes. You can start to play some of the Croatia guys. I think the 2 big items are going to be Gianluca Scamacca, who are projecting to start right now for Italy, which is shocking. If you told me that was going to happen last year, I would have laughed at you. He was not very successful at West Ham. And then you do have Morata even in the cash pool. Ryan, do you think how are you going to treat Scamacca at 9,100? It's tough to play like Chiesa and Scamacca, but it's the best matchup, and we were just poo-pooing on Italy, but they could also just run riot and win 3-0 rather easily. Well, not easily, but it's just something that's in the range of outcomes for them. I can tell I'm already going to be tilted by Scamacca, but how do you plan on approaching that situation?
I've warmed a little bit to playing him. If he score, a goal is gonna go a long way, like you just said about Morata on this slate. It's tough to put him and Chiesa together. You don't have to, but you can. If Scamacca scores, there's a good chance he outscores Szoboszlai and or Shaqiri. And I think another GPP route is just stacking Italy too. So, or just, saving all your salary for the Italy game. So I don't know how popular Scamacca is going to be necessarily at that price tag. So yeah, like my initial thought was, I don't love him in a vacuum, and I wasn't like too excited about playing him, but I will play some. Yeah, I don't know. Other tournament options. You got Salai for Hungary too in that first game, I think is interesting. You mentioned Amdouni. Vargas is the same price. So there's a good chance one of them has a good game. They're both, underdogs to play longer than 70 minutes. And then Hungary have this other forward that just nobody's going to play at 7,100. Barnabas Varga, I think his name is. Yeah, I don't know. But about Scamacca, I've warmed a little bit to Scamacca.
Yeah, I think being in the last game and Morata being sort of the same archetype of player, I think that will keep ownership of Scamacca in control, which is nice to see. Ryan, I mean, Barnabas Varga, especially in that top heavy GPP where it's like 50K to first place and then 5K to third place, I think you can consider some quote unquote gross plays like that.
I mean, he's the same price as Morata. So, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, just a direct pivot off of price. We got some people in comments. Nico Joy, Italy fan. My entire life has been either group stage exit or lifting the trophy. That sounds about right. Someone in here asking if Kobel is a good pick. And if you're talking about at goalkeeper, I think Sommer is going to start for Switzerland instead of Kobel. So I would say Sommer if you want. And if you're thinking about goalkeeper in general, good luck. I have no idea. Play whoever you want. Ryan, got any more takes about forward to get off your chest? I guess we didn't talk about Broja a lot. I mean, I can't do it. I'm gonna you could play him in a utility even instead of like a Bayrami or someone else cheap, just because he's like plus 500 to score a goal. But man, Albania might not be able to score a goal. I just think he kind of stinks, Ryan. But I might just be being rude because he's missed big chances in big spots. I get mad when people say like Darwin Nunez is bad because he misses big chances, because it's about getting into those positions in the first place. Do you see a bull case for Broja, or is he going to be a trap who's cheap, who might be oddly popular?
Yeah, if he was popular at all, then I would never click him. I almost prefer the Croatia forwards over the Albania ones, just at least in the big, large field GPPs. I mean, I feel better about Croatia's chances of scoring, and I think that they'll be less popular or lower owned because they're more expensive.
I think that is a fair point all around. Let's switch over to midfield then, where I think that this is the position with the most opportunity cost in the slate. We talked about Szoboszlai as a set piece monopolist at 8,600. We have Xherdan Shaqiri at 8,100. He'll take penalties as well, and at least half of the set pieces he'll probably split corner duty with Ruben Vargas, who's only 6,400. Decent play there, especially at price. We have the potential of Rodri Pens at 6,700, which would be eternally frustrating. In tournaments, someone like Lovro Meyer has been in really good form in splitting set pieces at 6,100. And we have this horrible headache with if Fratesi or Lorenzo Pellegrini are going to start at 7,700. Ryan, you don't want to screw up your spend up midfield. You're going to do it at least once. What's your take on the midfield position?
Yeah. I kind of just want to play Szoboszlai and Shaqiri together. After a lot of consideration, it's tough because normally, like if this was a different slate, you'd be perfectly fine fading either one of those guys. But like due to the nature of the slate, they're better than the Spain guys, and the Italy guys are Pellegrini's probably too risky, at least for me. You're not going to play Scamacca. Like probably only going to spend up for one defender. It just seems like the safest move for cash. Yeah, that's where my head's at right now.
Can you make that?
I hate to say Shaqiri. Yeah, you definitely can. I hate to say Shaqiri is like safe. But he's safe-ish on this slate. taking pens, taking at least half the sets. And we always worry about his minutes, but it's a pretty good matchup for Switzerland. Him versus Szoboszlai is a tougher decision than you might think. I kind of just want to play both.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to not screw it up. And then you're just saying, well, no one in the mid range is really going to kill me. Like, I don't think Ruben Vargas is the archetype of player to kill you. You can probably just spend down at your second defender and then, see whatever, play just someone anonymous in your utility
Ruben
spot.
Vargas, I've been killed by Ruben Vargas before, Jack. So careful what you put out there.
I have Ruben Vargas in my dummy lineup right now.
That's what I mean. You can play
playing.
Ruben Vargas. Like if somehow you got you got to throw it out there. If somehow you when you get a 90-minute Ruben Vargas game, I mean, he'd be like the first guy in your lineup. But like playing 60 minutes just so often is it's why he's not a lock. But yeah, I still think he's a fine option at that price.
Yeah, I think I have Ruben Vargas in for 70 minutes, kind of roughly based on what he did in qualifying. But anything beyond that, Ryan, would be you're starting to become a bit hopelessly optimistic. I'm not as worried about Shaqiri's minutes. He usually plays at least 80 for the Swiss team. I don't know. He's one of these like big personalities, and I always feel like these guys stay on the pitch even if they shouldn't be. It's like I don't know. I think that Shaqiri kind of fancies himself a Ronaldo type, and you don't sub. Those guys always throw a fit when they're subbed off early. So not as worried about the minutes. I guess my one concern about just jamming everyone, Ryan, is you're not going to be able to spend up at keeper. You're not going to be able to get a mid-range fullback, someone like a Di Lorenzo who might look okay. And you're not going to have a really good utility spot. I'm just trying, but at least you're getting a really good role.
I mean, right.
And Szoboszlai.
That's what makes the slate tough. You're right. Yeah, you can't spend up at keeper. That's not great. You can't get a second defender. That's not great. But you can get both those things if you were to punt one of the forward spots. So there's another decision. Maybe okay to punt one of those forward spots.
Yeah, if you play Ndoye instead of a Spanish winger, or I don't know. I would like to play Chiesa. I think he just has
even Chiesa's not a lock, right? No, I would like to play him, but most of the time he's probably not going to take any set pieces. So he's not a lock.
And he might be subbed after 75 minutes. Right? This is a player with it's been a while since he's been injured, but I don't. He's had some injury history. There's going to be a lot of fixtures. They have a lot of wingers.
He's known as relatively fragile, and they have a lot of attackers.
Yeah, so certainly can't be a lock. I don't know. There's a lot of ways for some of these players failing. And then you might be asking yourself, why didn't I play Szoboszlai, who's a set piece monopolist, or Shaqiri, who's going to probably take direct free kicks and take penalties? You can definitely see that going south. So very tricky overall. Ryan, who do you like as punts? I know you'll like Nico Barea, who will be 4,400 if he starts. I think Jorginho is 4,600. He's the penalty taker for Italy, always in consideration for GPPs. I had a lot of lineups that the machine suggested by Rami, who's 4,500. He seems fine as someone who splits set pieces. Maybe you'll get 4 points there, although an extremely dull 4 points. There's really no good punts anywhere, but is there anyone cheap that seems appealing to you, Ryan?
Yeah, appealing might be pushing it, but I think those guys you mentioned are fine. Barella and Barami. Either one. Either one is fine. I mean, Fabian Ruiz is a little bit cheaper. He's fine. No one stands out, or no one that I would say is like good value necessarily. Wish Jorginho was a little cheaper. I mean, he's in play no matter what. Hate to say it, but especially on this slate where goals would be so important, especially in these international slates where you never know. We've seen a lot of penalties in the past. So yeah, Jorginho is playable, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, you'd hate to get beat by a Jorginho pen. I'm not sure that many people will play him too. He might be an okay-ish tournament play.
Yeah, and just thinking out loud about kind of how gross these 4K midfielders are. maybe having a more barbell construction where you just say, I will just play anyone who's 3,200 and available to start in a utility spot and just, say, screw it. Like, I don't really.
Just plug in Fabian Schär.
Yeah, plug in Fabian Schär in how much better are these guys going to do than Fabian Schär? Fabian Schär might get 3 points. And everyone that we've mentioned, Ryan, might score less than that.
Right.
So
yeah, not too worried about
something to be said. There's something to be said about that. Yeah, overall, I really hope Rodri doesn't decide the slate. I don't have an opinion on the penalty situation. What's going to happen is that I'm not going to play Rodri, and he's going to do something stupid, and I'm going to lose like $500 worth of entries, and it's going to be grand, Ryan. It's going to be a fun time.
Don't put that out there.
No, it's going to happen. What are you going to do about it?
I won't be playing any Rodri, so that would not be fun.
Max Payne together. Let's get into the defender position then, Ryan. I think if there's someone who I consider a lock on the slate, it's probably Fede DeMarco. I'll probably play him in every single lineup. He's going to take left-sided set pieces if he starts. I don't know, there might be Cambiasso starting, but those two won't compete with each other. He's got a good floor. He crosses a lot from open play. Playing as a wing back certainly suits him. And, we know that he's willing to shoot as well. Just seems like a really good play in a spot where defenders might be a little bit underwhelming. We have Alex Grimaldo, Ryan, at 6,200, but playing in a back four, I said it earlier, it's just tough to be optimistic that we're going to get anything close resembling Bayer Leverkusen's Grimaldo. So not too excited about that. But then you look at the mid-range and it's not terribly exciting as well. Gio Di Lorenzo, I've seen some lineup sources suggest that he might play as a right-sided center back, but those were maybe like a little bit stale. It's just something to keep an eye out for. You don't want to plug him in and then end up playing just like a slightly more expensive Ricardo Rodriguez on accident. That would feel quite bad. I mean, Milos Kerkez is okay at 4,500. The machine likes Ricardo Rodriguez probably because he randomly gets a little bit forward. Ricardo Rodriguez has a little bit Alessandro Bastoni in him. And then you have really cheap punts, Ryan. You have Fabian Schär, who's only 3K. He seems like a very good punt. Can use him to fill the 3-team requirement. And then Albania's fullbacks are really cheap. We have El Cid, Husai, he plays for Napoli. I think he's not an exciting player as well. In research, I picked up that Mario Mitai at left back. He plays like a defensive midfield role for Lokomotiv Moscow, and he's at least a talented player, but not really offensive. Would probably prefer Schär there. I just gone on a complete rant about random bad defenders, Ryan. It just seems like DeMarco and punt seems like a completely viable strategy. Is there anything you see in the mid-range players, though, that might want to get you off of that?
Yeah, I would want to play DeMarco or Di Lorenzo. I would want to play Di Lorenzo if he starts on the wing. That's another one. I mean, yeah, that's another thing that makes this slate tough. I think not knowing the Italy wing back. Like you said in that recent friendly, he was the right-sided center back, and Bellanova, I believe his name is. He plays wing back sometimes. Cambiasso also does. But yeah, I don't mind planning for Di Lorenzo. Like, I think you could get a leg up on the slate if you nail both defender spots while other people are punting. Ricardo Rodriguez, and interesting comparison with Bastoni. From a DFS perspective, maybe. As far as players, they're like completely opposite. I kind of like Bastoni on this slate at 4,100. Just don't really think anybody's going to play him, and he could be the one to score. Italy also have the best clean sheet odds. But yeah, I like Schär if I'm going to punt. I think Kerkez is playable too. I think people are kind of down on Kerkez, but it wouldn't surprise me if he has a good game in this spot. That's pretty much it. Oh, yeah, you mentioned the Spain guys. Either one's fine. Carvajal is interesting at no ownership too, especially if they are going to cross a little more.
Well, yeah, he's going to get a headed goal off a set piece that's going to win it for Spain at 5'6".
Crazy because he proved in the same game that it wasn't a fluke. I mean, the same thing happened twice. He got his head on that first corner and it hit the crossbar. It got saved or whatever, and then he did it again. Like, almost a replay. So not a fluke.
Yeah, I guess I should take back comparing Bastoni to Ricardo Rodriguez. In terms of quality, I would prefer Bastoni. I'm only saying it because if you look at Ricardo Rodriguez game logs, like he's more likely than usual than other center backs to randomly create chances and get crosses. I don't know. The back three is not going to be the spot. I think that's sort of
Yeah, I just meant one.
thing.
If you stood them next to each other,
Oh,
one
I
is
see.
big, tall, strong, athletic, fast. The other is kind of like old, slow, not very quick, like sort of washed up.
Yeah, I feel like
Sorry,
Rick
Rick
was
Rod.
old. He was old 3 years ago. I really need to stop disrespecting these guys, Ryan, because I'm 31 now, and it's like,
But
I don't
you're
know, I'm
right,
going.
Rick Rod. Sometimes he gets forward and crosses. Sometimes he still finds himself on the odd corner, depending on who's on the pitch. So yeah, yeah.
GPP
I get it.
option.
Yeah, I get
GPP
it.
option. I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm not going to trust the machine so much overall there. Ryan, as far as the cheap options, Fabian Schär seems like your preferred.
Just because he's the cheapest, right? He's the cheapest favorite center back on the slate.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that we've seen score plenty of goals. I mean, he rips long shots. So cheapest center back, also shoots long shots. It's really all you need to know.
I was going to make a case for Mitai at left back at 2,800, but you don't even need him for the 3-team requirements.
Oh,
If you
that's
play
fine
someone like
though.
Fabian Schär.
Yeah, I didn't even realize he was that cheap. I hadn't clicked on Albania's defenders yet. So yeah, that seems
deep.
fine. I would go down to that if I needed it. I mean, like you said, like you're gonna get like 2 or 3 points from Schär. So like just if you're already punting, playing that Mitaj guy is fine.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely fine. But yeah, it's going to be tricky. I think I'm just going to agree with you. Like if I knew Di Lorenzo was going to play right wing back, I really want him in my lineup. I feel reasonably confident that's going to happen, but I don't know. It's a little bit of a risk, but at least I think if you're thinking about 2v2s in that very late game, like if you play Di Lorenzo and you play a lot of these set piece takers, you're probably going to be spending down at goalkeeper. You could give yourself the Albania goalkeeper, and then it's a 2v2 to Mario Mitai or someone really dirt cheap. You could completely upgrade your goalkeeper. So there might be outs. I think it's something worth tinkering in with cash teams. Like if there's a player who might get outed of the lineup, to see what sort of swaps you can make just so you're not completely backed into a corner. That's important to do on these staggered slates. Some of our opponents won't do it, and that will be an edge and maybe something that could make the difference in, one cash for you over the entire tournament. We have some questions. Ryan, Ozzy's asking which Italy players are most likely to go 90. I think Di Lorenzo if he starts, the center backs, but DeMarco plays a little bit more for country than for Inter, but maybe after the 80th minute he might go out. All the forwards I think are going to get rotated around. That seems to be what Italy often does. I don't know. What's your take on the Italy minutes, Ryan?
I'd be worried about all of them, actually. I'd be worried about all of them. The defenders probably least so, I guess, right? But they also do have multiple wing backs that they like. Bellanova and Cambiaso, is it?
Yeah.
So yeah, they worried. And then Barea is coming off injury. So center midfield is up for subs too. Jorginho and Cristante. I think they have another guy who's might be out though. Fajoli. I think he might be out. So one of the center mids probably plays 90. One or both of the center mids might play 90. But yeah, they have their sub risks on Italy.
Yeah, I think I don't know who's the other striker in Italy, like
Raspadori.
Oh, you do have Raspadori. I was reading someone else might come in.
Oh, Retegui.
Retegui, thank you. He could
Maybe
come
he
on as a
would
sub.
too. Yeah, he's probably more. Yeah.
And yeah, Raspadori. I mean, he's someone who might like sneak his way into the starting lineup and take set pieces. It's going to be frustrating with Italy.
Yep.
Overall. Let's see what else people are saying. Beret is quite cheap. Absolutely agreed. Yeah, and the staggered start times Aussie. It's a big dynamic overall. We're 45 minutes in, Ryan. We can talk about goalkeeper quickly. I, I was my habit here is just to scroll all the way down, and Albania's goalkeeper is going to be 3,600 or 3,700 depending on who starts. I have seen some conflict there, so if you're going to put Strakosha in your dummy lineup, you have to make sure you have $100 extra. Actually, you might be better off playing the backup goalkeeper depending on how this match goes overall, but it's something to be aware of. I have not seen consensus from various media outlets. But Ryan, I'm not as tempted to pay down at goalkeeper, because at least when I pay down at goalkeeper, when someone's playing against Liverpool or it's a Champions League slate and someone's playing against Bayern, I know there's going to be opportunities for saves, and it feels like maybe more in international play we could face outcomes where a cheap goalkeeper concedes one goal, and then Italy, it's a tough group, they just sit back and defend, and they say, Albania, you're not used to possessing the ball, we're not going to get scalded on the counter. I don't know, it feels worse in international slates to pay down a goalkeeper. I would really like to get, $5,700 player of the tournament in 2021 Donnarumma. It just might not happen. I don't know. Do you have any takes on goalkeeper and how any heuristics that might change, pivoting from Premier League to international play?
No, I think you broke it down well. I think in general, you're probably right about that cheap keeper thing. Until it's 0-0 in the second half. And like you said, Italy need this game. And then it turns into a game that looks like, Man City versus Young Boys. So, can end up going the other way. I'd like to get, I think all the keepers are in play, to be honest. If you want to go cheap, the Hungary keeper obviously has the best chance to win. But yeah, I don't know, Jack. I think all the keepers are fine. I don't really have a strong take.
I don't have a strong opinion either. We don't really know how any of these games are going to go, and the performance is already very random, even when we feel better about our strategy, like playing Young Boys keeper against City, as you say. So just going to correlate it probably and see how much money I have left. Probably just get me on some more unique lineups if I force myself to play with some of these mid-range goalkeepers. There's probably going to be a clean sheet in one of these matches, and I think it's good to hunt it down. In cash, I will try to play Donnarumma, and if I don't, well, who cares? It's goalkeeper. Well, that is the first show in the books. Oh, Ryan, do you have anything more to say?
Yeah, just one last guy I didn't just wanted to mention, Pedri. Where's Pedri? He's 5,400, kind of in the no man's land a little bit. People will punt those 4K guys. I think Pedri's actually a decent play. Unfortunately, he might not play 90 minutes, but he's got some upside. He scored a brace in the last friendly. Kind of just if he had been fully healthy, like for a while now, he would have been like just a nailed on starter, like playing 90 minutes, but he's kind of just coming back. I don't hate Pedri for tournaments.
Yeah, and this lineup is a 4-3-3, but I read some articles. I've been deep in the weeds. In Spain, functionally, it's been played more like a 4-2-3-1. Ruiz and Rodri are really good, like defensive double pivot when they play for Spain, and that would afford Pedri more attacking freedom. So that might mean more chances to bag some goals, as you said, Ryan. Some chances created at 5,400. We didn't really talk about anyone in that range. It's going to be a bit clunky to play him. I think that is an interesting GPP shout out overall. Yeah, but I think we can wrap this up. I mean, as far as plans, Ryan and I plan to be here every day for the group stages, probably at 5:30 Eastern time when we can. Perhaps 8:30, we'll have to go hashtag after dark a couple times. But yeah, we'll do our best to break these things down. Hopefully we don't go on a 12 slate losing streak. How about a 12 slate winning streak, Ryan? That would be something I enjoy. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe the video. It helps us if you leave a comment, even if it's corny and really quick. That type of stuff helps us get a little bit more engagement. And if you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe, rotowire.com/soccer trial. And if you're a subscriber and not in the Discord, we're going to be posting leaked lineups when they come out. We're going to be talking about any funny business that happens with lineups. I think it's really valuable on international slates where it's kind of an information game. And, yeah, I think just because it's an information game, the Discord is where we'll be spitting information. If you can parse through a little bit of the shit posting as well, but we have a good time there nonetheless. So I recommend joining. Yeah, I think that's it. Ryan, anything else you want to plug?
No, just looking forward to it. We got the Germany lineups about to drop. The first game about to start. Just excited to watch. Excited to watch.
Yeah. Good luck in Showdown, everyone. I'll probably be in Discord trying to figure out what's going on with Scotland's set pieces. But yeah, good luck tomorrow, everyone. I hope you finish second place. I'm going for that first place. Sorry, it's going to cost you 40K, but at least you'll have 10K if you finish second place. And we will see you tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Jack.